Happy New Year.
Well, finish your song.
No, we on
Vincent,
live.
you got to finish the song because we're on the air right now. Vincent was singing a Happy New Year song. Today, the last day of 2024, December 31st. I'm Harper LaBelle, and welcome to 100 Yards of Football. This is our draft prospect show. Our co-host and founder, Vincent Turner, is going to give us a beautiful song as we talk about Jordan Burch. You're going to do you know the Oregon Fight song? I do not. I've heard it. I don't know any of the words other than Fly Ducks Fly. I think that's in there somewhere, right?
All I know, when I watched the Oregon Ducks, and I remember when they came and played Georgia to open the game, I think the college football season a couple of years ago. Matter of fact, Dan Lanning's first year, all I kept hearing them walking to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Quack, 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 the Ducks. Quack, 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 the Ducks.
Well, one thing about a duck, it's the only animal that if it's on a pond, its noise, and we'll call it a quack, it does not echo. And trust me, I know the difference between a goose, which we've got geese over in this lake that we're in, and they start barking at one another. It's amazing. But for an Oregon duck named Jordan Burch, life is going to be pretty good for this young man. We're going to talk about him today on our Draft Prospect Show. Our producer and engineer is Logan Landers, and Logan has put this picture of it. When I look at this picture, Vincent, I see a guy wearing number 1, running like a sprinter. So he has to be a running back. He has to be a wide receiver. There's no way that he could be 6'4" and 290 plus pounds playing defensive end for the University of Oregon. How does this number 1 fit on a guy as big as this?
I'm going to tell you about Jordan Burch. I remember when he played in high school, he was the number 5 player on ESPN 300 back in 2020, the pandemic year. And it was a big recruiting battle over him. He almost went to LSU, but he decided to stay home and play for South Carolina because he's from Columbia, played at Hammond High School. And I mean, Harper, he is one of the most highly recruited players ever to play on the high school front. Played 3 years at South Carolina, had decent numbers, but really didn't play up to superstar level like one Javanian Clowney did back in the early years for South Carolina.
Right.
Then he went to Oregon. Dan Lanning said, I get you out here. I'm going to take you from being a 4th round pick to a guy that you're going to make some money. You're going to be at the end of the 1st round if you work. He's been injured a little bit this year, been in and out of lineup, but it's clearly when he's on the field defensively, Oregon is a whole different defensive unit. And you look at his skill set. We talked about this before pre-show meeting, 6'4", 290, 4.8 speed in the 40, but explosive as a pass rusher. Plays with enormous power, serious pop in his hands, attacks the football. And Harper, you should know this because you was a tight end. You had to block some guys like that. And then you looking at all the great defensive ends that I looked at was massive with his size. Bruce Smith, Deacon Jones. But he's got that meanness to him. And I hope that when he gets to the National Football League, he plays with the same pop. Rich Tombstone Jackson, that went to Southern University, played with the Denver Broncos, was a mean football player with similar size that got after the quarterback. He's got a lot of talent that I think it has not reached his potential. And Dan Lanning has done a lot of good work with him. He's a freak of nature, a freakazoid, Midnight Star 85 Classic. 35-inch vertical. He deadlifts 685 pounds, and he can squat 685. So this is a guy, like I said, I'm going to look forward to on Wednesday against the Ohio State Buckeyes and their explosive offense. Back to you, Harper.
Yeah, just a guy that big. And whether it be a tight end or a tackle, and you've got to set the edge on an outside zone play or a pitch or a toss, and you got to make sure that guy doesn't get to the outside. Just look at the way he's running right there. His knees are high. He's got really good form. He's not a big, slow dude. He can run. And had a nice career at South Carolina. For whatever reason, he decided to take his talents elsewhere. And South Carolina's turned into a pretty good football school. I think so for him to make that decision to do that was certainly a bold one. But nonetheless, the hard work that he'll need to do. My understanding is that he's got a really good first move, but he needs to work on a second, and that can be taught, right? You can't teach speed. You can hope that guys get faster, but it takes a lot of work. He's already got some God-given natural speed and strength that should make him a very dominant player, just a bigger, maybe a John Abraham type guy, who also, by the way, from South Carolina. But Abe had some amazing speed, and he would get lighter. But Abe was a sprinter in high school and college. He ran. I mean, he ran hundreds, and he ran hurdles and did all that kind of stuff. But Jordan's one of these bigger bodied guys that is great at the point of attack. No one's perfect, so there'll be some things that he needs to work on. But I think getting that second move in and being able to develop that, especially before the draft, and be able to show some guys at the combine that he's got that ability, and he can get his feet past an offensive lineman to get around him and create some havoc in the backfield. Right now, Vincent, from what I see, he's probably a second round guy. You're a day 2 type of guy. Is that what you're confirming? Or does it take a really impressive combine for that to be an improvement for him to where he moves up and maybe a late first rounder?
Think about this. Right now, it's money on the line. They're playing Ohio State on Wednesday, tomorrow. Let's say he has a good game, couple of sacks and hurries. He's going to be in the first round. Then what he does at the combine, like I say, he's a freak of nature, freakazoid. He's going to raise his numbers, but tomorrow is the game because you're playing against a team that's got a lot of NFL talent on the other side of the ball. And you got to be a difference maker based on the fact. I give everybody credit here in 100 yards of football, and I want to say thank y'all. And to you, Harper, and to you, Logan, our producer. You know, y'all been very kind to me about not mentioning Tennessee got really bum rushed by Ohio State. I appreciate that. Y'all have not mentioned one word. The staff here in 100 yards of football has not mentioned one word about Rocky Top getting rocked in Columbus, Ohio. And also to you, Mr. Stephen Travers. You've been kind to me on Facebook. But now back to Mr. Jordan Burch. Money is on the line tomorrow, and I expect he's going to play well, and I think he's going to make some money because I think he's going to make some impact plays in that football game tomorrow, the Rose Bowl. Back to you, Hawk.
Yeah, the interesting thing is what did he learn? What did he do to improve himself during that the bye week where you mentioned that first round where Ohio State ends up playing Tennessee? So they've got another game in them where these guys are sitting around for a while. So what were the practices like there at Oregon? Were they full speed? Did you really work on some stuff? Did you get to heal up? And then how are you going to be a little bit better? Because guess what? Ohio State's watched some film of you, and they know what you're going to do. So what are you going to do to surprise one of these big tackles or a pulling guard or somebody that comes around? How are you going to react when a tight end or a fullback, for example, tries to chip you? That'll be interesting to see how he shows his maturity in front of a lot of eyes that will be there at the game in terms of scouts and some folks that'll be watching on TV. They'll go, man, that kid right there, that number 1, he's got something that we want in our city. Let's look at some of the stats. Jordan Burch is a senior. He is 6'4". Depending on where you put the scale on him, some have him at 6'6", but 295 pounds, give or take. He was at South Carolina from 2020 to 23. He transferred to Oregon, and this year he has 30 tackles, 8.5 sacks thus far, 5 passes deflected. He has a fumble recovery, and he's forced a fumble. So not too bad there for a guy that has been battling some injuries. So remember, look for that number 1. I still think, Vincent, that it's kind of difficult to watch some of these big guys with only one number, 8, 4. I've seen guys wearing number 9. I know I get it, especially at Oregon. Gosh, with the reveal and what they're going to wear and the colors and the different helmets and all the different uniform combinations that you have. But you fight like crazy to get a number that's closer to 0. The older you get, at least that's how college. And you've got both offensive and defensive players that can wear the same number. It's an unusual situation, but folks, watch for number 1 if in the next 24 hours you get a chance to watch what University of Oregon has there on their defensive line.
My final thoughts about Mr. Jordan Burch, man, you got a lot of money on the line tomorrow over there in Pasadena, California. A lot of scouts are going to be looking at you, man, and I expect you're going to play real well. So my love and prayers to you that you have an outstanding game. And I'm going to say, Jordan Burch, Be a pet bull in the China shop tomorrow, brother. Be a pet bull in the China shop. Back to you, Mr. Harper LeBay.
Not just a bull, but a pit bull. You can be one of those. So, well, Hayaloti, Nagata, Eric Armstead, and then Falcon rookie Brandon Dorless are three other of the more famous University of Oregon defensive linemen that are making a difference. And Jordan, I hope your name gets to be added amongst them. And if you get to win and get to move on to the semifinals, obviously there'll be even more eyes paying attention to what you do. But for Vincent Turner, for Logan Landers, our producer and engineer, I'm Harper LaBelle, and we thank you for tuning into another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our draft prospect show, and we appreciate getting a chance to talk about Jordan Burch. So for everybody here that's part of it, we hope that you have a great, happy new year and that everything turns out wonderful for you. Have a fantastic rest of your day.